Hey, I'm Jim Kielbaso from footballcoachu.com, and I want to talk to specifically defensive ends and linebackers who are going to be rushing the passer. Now, when you are rushing the passer, you are absolutely required to bend. You'll hear a lot of people talk about bending, and bending is essentially being able to accelerate while you're leaning into your acceleration pattern, because you're trying to get around an offensive lineman and get past that person, bend as you're running. Now, a lot of people lose balance and they don't feel real comfortable, so it's something that you have to practice. So before you practice anything, you've got to learn how to accelerate properly. Now, we're not going to cover acceleration right now. That would be a separate skill, but you got to know how to accelerate with big, powerful steps, getting your knees up, ripping your arms backwards. When you're trying to bend, now you need to do most of those same things while you're dipping your shoulder and running as fast as you can. I'm going to demonstrate the drill a couple different ways. Pretty simple drill to set up. You just need a few cones and a couple of balls. I've got a couple of lacrosse balls. You could use tennis balls. Anything that's relatively small and you can put down on the ground. When we do the drill, sometimes you can actually pick the ball up. I've noticed that a lot of athletes start thinking too much about what they're doing with their hand and grabbing it, and less what they're doing with their body. If you're a defensive end rushing the quarterback, you don't have to pick up a ball off the ground. So what I prefer to do is just get your hand down there and smack the ball out of the way. As long as they're down low and getting in that leaning position, it's going to be fine. So all you're going to do is set up a few cones in kind of a half circle. You're going to put a ball a couple feet out in front of each side, and essentially all the drill is you get yourself set up like a D end on one side, you take off, and as you're running, you smack the ball, you come all the way around, you set yourself back up on this side, get yourself ready to go, and as you come out, you smack the other ball, and you finish on the other side. Now, a couple of keys to this drill is, one, whichever way you're running, you want that outside knee to be getting up nice and high. I'll see a lot of athletes, as they're bending and they're rounding corners, their feet are kind of shuffling along, they're kind of low into the ground, but you want to get that outside foot to come up and cover ground. If you can get that outside foot up and around, you're actually going to be traveling, you're going to be covering ground, and it's a lot harder for an offensive player to get in front of you, because you're actually moving rather than taking a bunch of little steps. It also allows the inside foot to push hard into the ground and get that lean. If your feet are shuffling and they're close to the ground, it's much more difficult to lean. Now you've got to have to make sure you have good cleats, because your cleats are going to be a big part of this. So you're not going to be able to probably do this on turf with regular shoes like I'm wearing right now. But I'll just kind of go through the drill one time so you can see it, and then you can start practicing. So we'll get the ball set up roughly here and here, and all you're going to do is come out, hit that ball as you come around, get yourself set up on the other side, hit that ball, and get around the outside. So that's going to be your bending drill. It's going to help you lean and get around the outside of an offensive player. Keep working on that. Experiment with it. Experiment with how far you can lean and how high you can get that outside knee up to cover some ground to get around that guy that you're trying to beat.